Hi, good day. The idea of this video is to introduce ourselves, introduce our organization, show you what we have done so far, the progress we have had, and what we have not been able to do due to the pandemic, as well as the projects we would like you to do with you. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Sergio Alberto Elizondo and together with my wife, Rosa Elena Ponce Vieira, we are the founders of a non-profit organization called Foro de Emergencia and the program Productos o Sazonadores con Sabor a México. I would like to tell you about our program, making seasonings to prepare Mexican food. But first, I would like to tell you a little about our history so that you know that the foundation of what we do. I will try to make this as short and not boring as possible, but I do need to do it because there are some details that I would like to discuss with you. When I was a child, due to my father's work, we traveled a lot to the mountains of Chihuahua. There I made friends. However, it made me very sad to see the poverty that there was and the amount of problems they had. So, when I had the opportunity to study a degree, I got a scholarship in 1977 and went to Tecnológico de Monterrey to study the latest technology sciences. However, computers at the time were very big and I couldn't take them to the field. In 1980, when I was a year away from finishing my degree in electronic systems, the first laptops arrived, including the Apple II, and those I could take to the field. Then I realized that now I needed to study something that would help me speak the language of the people of the field and understand all their needs. So I ended up studying to be an agronomist. This change of careers, without thinking about it, led me as a student to achieve three very important things that changed the lives of many people. Number one, in my thesis, at the end of my degree, I did with help of computers the largest study that had been done in Monterrey on the effect of climate and crops, rains, evaporation, and pests, that resulted in the change in the sowing dates of rain-fed crops throughout Nuevo León. We discovered that global warming had started in 1976 and that it had already caused effects on crops. Seeing all the applications that this study had, the career of agronomist and system engineer began at the Tecnológico of Monterrey. What did I learn from this? That if we want to achieve great things, it takes a lot of work from many people. To do this thesis, 20 students worked with me, helping me to enter 750,000 climatological data records from 23 years of weather. And the result finally gave us many satisfactions. After graduating in 1983, I went to Nuevo Casas Grandes, Chihuahua, a small town at the entrance of the Sierra de Chihuahua, where I worked in a logging company automating all the administration. In 1984, I married Rosa, and we went to live for a time in the mountains, near Ciudad de Madera, to work with the people, because we had to buy all the computers equipment in El Paso, Texas, which was the most important city near the United States. We had to return to live in Nuevo Casas Grandes and from there serve the people, small farmers, fruit growers, ranchers, commerce, etc., and to teach how to use the computers to as many people as possible. All this led us to the whole town getting to know us. They spoke highly of what we were doing and the results they were having. Our life changed when in 1988, people with other types of planting and motives became interested in us automating everything for them. Since we did not want to do that, we decided to disappear. What did we learn? That sometimes things can be very tempting, but we must not separate our feet from the ground. From the end of 1988 to the middle of 1991, with fear, I continued working from Chihuahua with clients with whom I had some unfinished businesses until I finished them. In 1991, I gave up my dreams of helping the fields and gave up computers. At the end of the same year, we opened a restaurant, which was my wife's dream. In 1993, due to the problems with the children, we already had three, and the fourth was coming. We had to close down the restaurant. From 1993 to 2000, I worked giving business advice. However, in 1998, we opened the restaurant again. In 2001, we opened another, and in 2005, we opened a third. Since we opened the restaurant in 1998, I took the habit of sitting down with the people to talk, and there I realized the large number of needs and problems that people had in the cities. So we started a weekly financial newspaper where I taught people about personal finances, types of credit, etc. Everything that was money management and personal finances. At the time, we realized that it was not only money but lack of blood, orthopedic devices, medications, prostheses, psychological problems, family violence, etc. So, using computers and the internet, we made a newsletter, and since we couldn't help everyone, we worked on the idea that people help people. Whoever can help, help whoever needs it. We started this newsletter by sending it by email to 75 people between clients and friends, and in it we wrote the needs and requests for their help. Taking advantage of the link that we were having, my wife, who had family studies and practice with 4 kids, dedicated herself to writing articles for parents on the education of children, and this coupled with the help of people in needs led us to the fact that in a few months from 75 we became more than 18,000 people. All of our newsletters had a phrase of Mother Teresa of Calcutta: "You can do what I cannot. I can do what you cannot, and together we can do something beautiful for God." Not all the people who wrote to us were to request help. They wrote a lot to make very varied comments that helped us to feel that God was holding us by the hand. Due to a great social impact that we were having in 2005, the social department of the Tecnológico de Monterrey and the Chihuahua Business Foundation, called the Center for the Strengthening of Civil Society, approached us. They invited us to make an alliance with them where we taught other organizations to manage systems as we did, and they, through technology, taught us everything we needed to know about social organizations and how to establish ourselves as a civil society. In February 2006, we established ourselves as Foro de Emergencia AC, and in April of the same year, we signed the collaboration agreement between both parties. In 2008, thanks to their support, we started a master's degree in business administration specializing in social organizations at the same Tecnológico Monterrey. At the beginning of 2007, something happened that I will tell you later. It's about why we sold the restaurants, and my wife dedicated herself totally to the organization and I part-time. Someone had to work. Everyone in life, sooner or later, pursues a dream to feel fulfilled. We feel that ours is to transcend the lives of people who need help. So throughout our journey, we have developed great social programs. Some of them are Expo Filantropía in 2007. It was the first exhibition of social organizations in Mexico. Its model served as the basis for other similar exhibitions organized by Indesol. Red de Ayuda. We started in 2006, and it was the first automated digital social aid platform in Mexico that provided free online counseling and has more than 500 international volunteers, thus making people without intermediaries and from anywhere in the world. In 2007, we stopped making the newsletter due to problems of spam, and we switched to social networks. After closing the restaurants and until 2008, the cost of these programs were incredibly high, and by December 2008, we had already run out of money and we were thinking of closing in January. However, being in Monterrey at Christmas Mass, the fathers repeated many times, "What God builds, God sustains." And after that, I asked my wife, should we continue? And we are already in 2021, and we are still here, thanks to opportunities that God sends us like you are. In 2009, Expo Sport, with the idea of taking young people off the streets, alcohol and drugs, and promoting sport, Citizen of the World in 2009, a board game was designed whose objective is to develop civic and ethical values in the participants and received second place in the Best Business Plan contest of the International Junior Chamber. In the same year, 2009, we developed the Socially Responsible Parents Program and the award for a Best Mexican Family, whose execution at the national level was transferred to the National Family Network and has been carried out annually since 2011. Socially Responsible Person is a certification developed by and endorsed by Foro de Emergencia AC since 2010. Club de Donadores de Sangre is a program that works through a social network, raising awareness of the importance of culture of donation in the search for donors for those who request it. At this time, I would like to tell you what we are doing in Sazonadores con Sabor a México program. Since we started with the newsletter, later with social networks, and finally with Red de Ayuda, as I mentioned, many people wrote to us to make comments or suggestions. And one of the most frequent was that if we had a program for boys with disabilities, mainly Down syndrome, since their parents, were always worried about what would happen to the boys when they died if they could not help themselves. This is where I want to tell you what happened shortly before we sold to restaurants. My wife was the chef in charge of the kitchen. One day, already very tired and frustrated from training people, she told me that she needed to rest at least one day of the week, that we needed to close one day since when she left the kitchen in charge of someone else, for some reason the food always came out different, because people did not pay attention or they simply made it the way they knew how to do it. And for her, it was very important to standardize flavors, process, and cost. So automatically, I told her, why don't you put everything you need in a recipe in a bag and tell them to just put that in, not to fight anymore. At the time, I saw that it was a lot of work for her at night to be making bags for the cooks. However, it worked, but it was very late. She no longer wanted to continue with the restaurants. That's why we sold them. From 2009 to 2010, messages from parents with the concern for their children with disabilities were more and more frequent, so we decided to do something. At the end of 2009, after studying hard about the problem of children with disabilities, we realized that the main problem we have is that when the boys arrive to work, which generally are low-risk jobs with little training, their peers see them weird at first, and even with a certain fear. At the time, they realize that they are good and playful, so they begin to make jokes on them more and more until it becomes bullying, and so they quit. So we decided to invest in a company where we could have them in an exclusive, clean, safe environment and cared for by people who know how to treat them. Consulting our more than 500 Help Network volunteers about what product we should make, it turned out that it was not easy due to a large number of conditions that had to be taken care of. The conditions we set ourselves were, it had to be a program that lasted many years, that it could grow to the whole world to be able to help more people. It had to be consumable to create more jobs. It had to be handmade and that transmit our culture. After brainstorming 1,000 ideas, we saw with dismay that they all had a serious problem in their production and that could put the project at risk. Finally, we arrived at the Mexican Artisan Confectionery, dividing the project in two parts. Analyzing the project and seeing that there were more areas of opportunity where the confectionery could be part of a large one, and remembering all the experience we had in restaurants, the idea of vegetables and ingredients in a bag return, but already in a more professional way with all the advantages that a good dehydration could provide. We call this project Sazonadores con Sabor a México, where we elaborate more than a seasoning. They are all the Mexican ingredients, natural and dehydrated, that are needed to prepare a traditional recipe of our Mexican cuisine and put in a bag to carry out our pride to anywhere in the world. Since the beginning of 2010, we started with the design of the products and tasks, and thanks to the support, dedication, and enthusiasm Of a group of professional chefs, we undertook the task of developing a series of seasonings, and for which we encountered many problems, including they were the definitive elimination of the use of chemicals, dehydration technology. Many teams recommend to use chemicals to preserve color and texture, but after dehydration, the chemical finally remains in the product. The change in flavor from a natural product to a dehydrated one, so the dehydration process also had to be improved. The high cost of suitable equipment. The high cost of operations, since, for example, dehydrating tomato requires 22 kilos of fresh tomato to obtain 1 kilo of dehydrated tomato, or 12 to 14 kilos of fresh jalapeno to obtain 1 kilo of dehydrated jalapeno. In addition to the time, since it must be slow dehydration. However, none of this stopped us. By the end of 2010, we already had 6 finished products that had to go through 3 tests. At first, a tasting we are going to call familiar. Second, a social tasting. And third, community tasting in a convention center. To define the appropriate formula for a seasoning, 5 samples are prepared, and where the first tasting with the help of family and friends, the formula most similar to the flavor, texture, and color of the original dish is selected. The second tasting is to confirm the results of the first tasting. The third tasting took place at a food exhibition where, in addition to seeing if people liked it, they are willing to pay the price. To our surprise, not only did it work, but we received offers from people to sell them in their stores. Already being sure that our product is good and that people buy it, we took on the task of doing the logistics of the program. On the one hand, the producers of the raw materials we needed. At this moment, we realized that we could support small producers. Some are not organic because they do not have organic certifications, but they produce their products which could be organic. The size and shape are not important to us as we dehydrate and powder them, but quality is important. Another part is the preparation of the products. In this part, we do not work with people with intellectual disabilities. Here we work with deaf people and regular women in vulnerable situations. In this part, the raw materials are prepared to be mixed and obtain the seasonings. It is a place with a high demand for cleanliness and safety. Since we need to comply with all the regulations to have and maintain our certifications and not have problems in exports. And finally, the third part. As you will recall, the objective and purpose of this program is the creation of companies to generate jobs in protected environments for people with intellectual disabilities, pregnant adolescents, older adults, and people who are in vulnerable situations so that they can have a decent income and a better life quality. In this part, these social groups are in charge of packaging and marketing. The latter is made up of the social organizations we support, and they are the ones who will finally form the International Network Pro-Employment for people with disabilities or in vulnerable situations. So the profits generated from the commercializations are theirs. They only pay us the product. At this time, everything I told you about logistics were plans. Now we had to put it into practice. With the success of the exhibition in 2011, we started selling products in Soriana shopping centers. There, they told us that they could not buy us as a social organization, that we had to be a commercial company. So we opened the company Sazonadores y Alimentos Balanceados, SDRL. This company is charged of all the commercial aspects of the project and Foro de Emergencia of all social issues. This experience was very bad for us. Soriana did not pay us everything or on time. They paid us when they wanted and they charged us whatever they want. We finally lost a lot of money. From 2011 to 2012, we developed a space in our facilities for production with people with intellectual disabilities. First in the morning for hours, then another group in the afternoon, then another at noon, until we decided that if we wanted to help more people, we needed to launch the call to create free social franchises. While all this was happening, a gastronomy contest came out where we could use our seasonings, since not in all gastronomy contests they can be used. We used the fish with fine herb, and we won it. And not only that, the head of chef told us that for a long time they had not given recognition to the flavor, and on this occasion of the 4 judges, they gave us 3. It gave us a lot of pleasure, and now we were sure that the project was going to be a success. Since then, we have started working groups throughout the country and under the free social franchise system. So they are independent companies, but united by the same methodology and product. The necessary equipment is simple and inexpensive, and only the cleaning requirements are very clear and thoughtful. To achieve this, we have signed alliances with many organizations throughout the Republic to create work groups where we give them training in the packaging of seasonings, hygienic handling, and good manufacturing, production administration, sales, and customer service practices to guarantee us its success and permanence over time. Thank to God, and with a lot of effort, we have received national and international recognition. Articles have been published about our work, and this has allowed us to grow and replicate it in different cities, benefiting more than 800 low-income families. At the beginning of 2018, we were invited by the Conservatory of Mexican Gastronomic Culture, who developed a request to UNESCO to obtain the recognition of Mexican cuisine as intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Invited us to participate in August 2018 in the Viva la Cocina Mexicana exhibition in North America at the World Forum of Mexican Food. And that was where we met Mr. Solórzano and visited him in his office. Since the beginning of 2018, we started plans to form working groups of Mexicans living abroad who are in a vulnerable situation. But the truth is, we did not know how. So the talk with Mr. Solórzano helped us see the great picture. Back in Mexico, by the end of 2018, we already had 97 social groups working and marketing the seasonings. Due to the changes in the policy towards social organizations in Mexico, they caused a readjustment in our work groups, where some groups were benefited and others were harmed. So we invested a lot of time in them and postponed to start until 2020 to start working with migrants in the United States with the business and gastronomic training program to convert migrants into entrepreneurs who promote Mexican crafts, foods, culture, and tradition. Unfortunately, the pandemic seized us during 2020. We were left without work groups in Mexico, since these are made up of people with greater vulnerability. Practically all the organizations closed since without having resources from the government or from the companies, and now nor from the productive project. Added to a long time of this pandemic has lasted, we believe that almost no organizations will reopen. So we are preparing for a new reality with new strategies and always hand in hand with God. In summary, we currently have 130 different products, and each label has a short history of the origin of the dish. As 5 certification: kosher, halal, vegan, gluten-free, natural process. 1 Chihuahua Market Administrative certification. The National Entrepreneur Award in the category of Social Entrepreneur. First place in the Chihuahua Gastronomy Contest Ponte Trucha con la Trucha. First place in the World Convention of Chile at the Best Branded Salsa, Sauce Toreada in Salt Shaker. And first place in GS1 Gourmet Cuisine Fest 2020 for the creativity of its products. And our certification of Distintivo MX to certify that establishments and or gastronomic businesses of the authentic Mexican food in the world. We know that you cannot really make the authentic Mexican food without Mexican ingredients. So this is an attempt to define the typical qualitative standard of hospitality service and image of traditions and authentic Mexican food. Why do we do them and why they have been accepted? Because it is a social program. Those who have tried them qualify them as magic powders. The quality and taste is always the same. The most frequent problem in all food businesses, and that ultimately depends on the success or failure of the business, is being able to standardize the quality and flavor of the dishes. However, that depends mainly on how the staff is that day. With the use of these seasonings, this problem ends. Our products comply with a quality standard since in order to standardize a flavor, we must always maintain the same ripeness and variety of inputs. This is the red tomato of the same variety and perfectly ripe without spots or defects. The same happens with green tomato, chili, onion, etc. They have a low cost per prepared dish. You save time and gas in the preparation of dishes. You reduce the amount of dirty dishes, saving detergent and water. You save light because you don't need a blender. Avoid wasting ingredients and save space in your pantry. They are light and easy to store because they do not contain water and have a long shelf life. It makes shopping easier for you since you buy exactly what you need. You eliminate the problem of not getting any ingredient because everything you need is in the envelope. It makes it easier for you to control supplies inventories. The seasoning is just 100% and there is no waste of spices or ingredients to prepare the dish already with its use in the kitchen. You ensure the speed and quality of the preparation of the dish, which allows you to have more time for the plating. Help you standardize your recipes. Regardless of who prepares the food, it will always taste the same. It makes it easier for you to adopt new dishes on the menu. Its long life allows you to have it available all year round. With excellent taste, quality, and cost, can be used with any type of protein, including soy protein for vegans. It opens the possibility of serving internal blanket services with ease of preparation. You can give easier and faster customer service. You can use the same product with creativity and innovation for different dishes. For all these reasons, with Sazonadores con Sabor a México, the magic comes to your kitchen. The Mexican culinary food or gastronomic crafts have been very little considered and undervalued, since it is the most complicated and delicate of the craft, and is only that when awakened. All the senses of the Mexican, from the color, the aroma, the texture, the taste, and even the ear, when delighted dish that makes our heart beat and shed a tear for newly found memory. Without underestimating other types of handcraft, food handicraft are the only ones that cause Mexican nostalgia for his land. It is for this reason that Foro de Emergencia as a non-profit organization has developed a work program in which Mexican migrants in any part of the world can be seen as business partners, promoters, and consumers, and thus make them feel they have a very close bond between all Mexicans. In addition to the lack of employment opportunities for people in Mexico and for Mexican migrants, we developed two programs. Search and Selection Program of Artisanal and Traditional Dishes of Mexican Food. Business and Gastronomic Training Program to convert migrants into entrepreneurs who promote Mexican craft, food, culture, and traditions, and whose objective is to help migrants, their communities of origin, and the rescue and promotion of Mexican culinary crafts in the world. Thanks to all this, we are ready to make it possible for each table around the world to enjoy authentic and original Mexican food as if they were in Mexico. I hope that knowing all our reality and this information, we can make an alliance and together, holding the hand of God, we can do great things for those most in need. I hope we can see each other soon and I am at your service for any question. Best regards.